So Scott and I are here today with two local producers. One of them is familiar to you all, is Paul Freund. Paul is actually the host of our the plots that we do here. We've done, Paul, for how many years now have we worked with you on the farm?
I believe this is eighth
year?
year to do the field day, and about 24 probably to do test work.
So doing a lot of test work here locally in Fort Bend County with Paul on his farm. And then we also have Chris Davlin, and Chris farms in the Jackson County area, Ganado, and some in Wharton County as well, right, Chris?
Yes, sir.
So first of all, Paul, why don't you tell us a little bit about your operation, the crops that you grow, and then we'll switch to Chris and kind of talk about what we've seen this year so far.
We raise cotton, milo, corn. We try to rotate from cotton to grain every year, and then we have a few cows and do some hay, be a little bit diversified. But I've been right here for this be my 46th crop, so me and my wife and my son helps us out whenever he can when he's around. So, but we try to do a few odds and ends here and there. Houston's encroaching on us, so we're losing land, so we're going to have to stay diversified.
Chris, how about your operation? What are you raising?
We're raising a 50-50 mixture of corn and cotton, just like him. We also have mama cows, raise a lot of hay, sell a lot of hay. A little more diversified other than that. We have some Peterbilt trucks, just anything to make it all work. What's good one year won't be so good the next year, and kind of keep it all going. We're very blessed with what we do. Very blessed to have all my kids on a farm and a business partner named Keith that has been very good, and I'm in my 20th year farming.
So very good. So some of the things that we've talked about today throughout our tour through the plots is the challenges that we've had this year, right? So no 2 years are alike. Last year was completely different than this year. One of the first things that came up this year was we had the freeze in the middle of February that kind of pushed us back from our optimum timing of planting. I know, Chris, you'd like to start, I'm guessing, in middle to third week of February is when you'd prefer to start. When did you get started planting this year on your corn crop?
We snuck in and planted one field early just as kind of a test plot to make sure the planters are all set and ready to go. February 19th. Talked about bad weather coming. We don't like to plan ahead of any kind of calling for bad weather, cold weather. So we parked everything and started planting on March the 3rd.
And Paul, how about you?
About the same. We didn't plan anything earlier. We usually start around the 20th and didn't plan anything because of the weather that was coming, and it was the first week of March by the time we got going also. And
then, you know, kind of next up, we had some unfavorable weather in the month of April in terms of cloudy, cooler than average, lots of high wind. That was the month of April that caused, you know, what Scott has talked about is, you know, a little bit of shorter stature on the corn plants that we've seen throughout the Upper Coast. And then we move into late April into May, and we caught up on our rainfall in a hurry, didn't we, Chris?
Very quickly, in a matter of a day. In April, like I said, we had the cloudy, we had a lot of wind. The wind was tough. We got cotton planted. Tough to keep them little cotton plants coming out of the ground. They're wanting to blow around. But the main thing, our corn, if you get next to a creek where you have trees or whatever, the corn behind the windbreak was a foot taller. I mean, it's a massive, massive difference. Corn didn't grow as quick as what we're used to. I guess, cooler. Cotton, when cotton came out of the ground, cotton just struggled. It seemed like it sit forever and ever and ever. Lots of north winds, lots of dry fronts. We kind of got to where we needed a rain. And we was actually kind of almost begging for rain in our part of the world. In May 15th, it rained 15 inches in about 7 hours, and we caught up pretty quick. And from the point of May 15th to June the 4th, we had at our farms, we had 24 to 34 inches of rain.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And Paul, how about you, in terms of how the crop was progressing early and through right up until we started getting these rains in May?
We had the same issues basically. We didn't get quite as much rain when they had the flood in May, but we had 9 inches in a little over a day. But then we got to get in just for a little bit, and then it started raining again. So we've had somewhere over 20 inches the last 45 days, 23, somewhere around there.
And Chris, I'll ask you, we'll go back to corn. You know, the corn's maturing along here. You're probably, I would assume, somewhere getting close to start, you know, dough to dent somewhere in that range. So, you know, from an agronomic standpoint, you know, we touched on the short staturedness of some of this corn due to the weather that we had. What else have you seen this year in your corn crop that's kind of stuck out, that's, you know, made you had to make some management decisions?
We really like 65.99, 69.99, and our good standby for our less desirable acres is 67.72. All of our plants this year have not canopied like they normally do. They're just so much shorter. I mean, lots of, you know, if it could have been sunlight, it would have been more sunlight on them. We got through the rain and we've come into like a disease pressure. We've got lots of rust showing up. Our DEKALB hybrids have held up good. We are actually spraying some of our DEKALB hybrids today for rust. Not necessary that it's a have to, it's a peace of mind for me. We have a competitor hybrid that we plant a little bit of just to keep up with the times and what's going on. Actually, we're going to spray it for the second time tomorrow. That's not what any of us want to hear, but it's a fact of life, and we decided to spray most everything. We're not trying to make more yield, we're trying to protect the yield that we have. Something else we've seen this year, with all the rain, our plants have yellowed up a lot, denitrification, cannibalizing themselves. It's just, you're not really sure what to do. We need the sunshine we've had the past few days is a very blessing to us, trying to mature the crop along. We have no corn anywhere close to black layer. We're 14 to 18 days on the early corn. Without the lack of sunlight and heat units, this crop has not progressed. We're just slow. Normally, we want to be cutting corn the 4th of July. And this year, if it keeps heat like that, what we have today, the warm temperatures at the earliest, I think it'll be July 20th, July 25th. Tommy Bertling was there yesterday at the farm. We have the milk line just barely showing up on some. The rest of it is nothing. So, you know, some of that's 30 days out for harvest. And we're just hopefully that we don't miss the rain next week. They're talking about a tropical low coming. We hope to miss the rain. Go ahead and get our crop out. The corn needs it to mature out and get it out of the field.
Absolutely. Paul, I'll ask you the same question on your corn crop here, maybe a little bit further behind what Chris is, but from an agronomic standpoint, what have you seen this year that's making you make some decisions on how to manage that corn crop?
It's actually held up fairly well. They're supposed to spray for the rust hopefully tomorrow. I'm in line at the plane. It's quite a line, but they're supposed to spray as soon as they can get to it, if not tomorrow, first of the next week. And then we're just going to go from there. But I mean, we should be covered then. I think that'll take us to the end. But we have good canopy. It stayed green really well. Kind of surprised me for what it went through, but we didn't have quite as much water as Chris did. And then when we had the water, it stayed kind of cool and cloudy, so it helped a lot. We didn't yellow out as bad, but I'm sure, you know, some of the lower spots it hurt, but, you know, most of the ground that drained off in a timely fashion, it did okay. So it really looks pretty good, and I don't think we're going to be real far behind our normal, but we're usually second or third week of July to harvest anyway, so we're going to be at least third week, I'm sure.
What about challenges? Chris, you talked about all the water you've had. What types of challenges have you had now with your cotton crop, and where do you go from here in regards to your cotton crop?
That's a good question, because we're all sitting around today at lunch, several growers in our area, trying to decide what to do. Some fields had water on them for 7 to 8 days. That cotton is gone. Parts of fields, on my MPE plot, the east side of that field is gone, pretty much. The creek backed out. A gentleman that I farm for is 80 years old, has lived their entire life, and he said he has never seen the creek come out as high as it came out during that. Not even during Harvey 4 years ago. Water never got nowhere near like what it did this time. It's just a massive amount in such a short time. It just couldn't keep up. Cotton on one end of the field is, you know, rolling very, very good. Opposite end of the field, the low spots, especially in the heavy land, cotton is 8-9 nodes and blooming. We don't really know what to do. We're praying for sunshine. Hopefully get back in spraying tomorrow, Saturday. try to get everything sprayed, bugs, weeds, get our extended max put over the top, power max, and then come back 2 days later and try to cultivate it, bring a little air to the cotton, and pray for dry weather for it mainly.
Very good. So Paul, I'll kind of switch gears and ask you about grain sorghum. How has your sorghum crop progressed throughout this year, and certainly with some of the weather that we've had in the month of May?
It looks good to me. I mean, I was worried about it with all the rain on pollination issues, but it looks like it held up fairly well through it. You know, I didn't know if it would affect it or not. I've never seen it rain that long while it was blooming, but most of it's bloomed out now, and it's going to be behind some too, but it looks fairly decent to me.
Any pest pressure that you've seen in the milo just yet?
Not yet. Not yet.
And those are things that we talked about during our time in the field is the ability or the need to scout for aphids as we move further towards harvest. And then also, Paul, do you utilize Roundup as a pre-harvest aid for grain sorghum?
Pretty well every year, and it's sometimes we get in there too late, depending on when the combine's going to get to the field. But even if it's going to be a little late, if it doesn't help me fully with the moisture, you know, bringing moisture down faster, it controls my regrowth. I like it almost just as much for that as for speeding up the drying process.
Right. So, you know, we appreciate all the feedback and the input. I'm going to ask you a little bit, Chris, what are those things that go through your mind as you're choosing a hybrid or a variety to plant on your farm?
We plant a package. We split up our hybrids by how many days. Our lighter ground, typically we have some lighter ground that we don't have the moisture retention capability of a lot of land. We put a little shorter season hybrid on that. All of our good land, we really like our little longer season, using some of the VIPs, and just try to spread it out, spread our risk out is our main deal. Cotton, we're 100% DPNL cotton. 1646 is my favorite cotton of the current. It reminds me a lot of my 1219 from back in the day. That was my all-time favorite cotton. This year we couldn't get 2020 last year, not even in our NPE plots. We did go plant quite a bit of 2020 this year. I love the 2020. It's going to be a little quicker. 1646, I call it heart attack cotton. It doesn't have a whole lot on it. Then you go out there one day and it's loaded. Kind of the 2020, you see it coming. 2020 during all the rain has held up. It has not shucked a whole lot of our fruit. It's doing very well. 2020 rolls out of the ground a little quicker than 1646. When the weather's a little cooler and sometimes less than ideal, like when we get in a hurry, it pops out of the ground a little quicker. So we're really excited with some of the new ones we've seen in our MPE plots. Our MPE plot this year actually is on some of the better cotton that we have. So we're excited to see what the new and the experimentals and see what comes for next year.
Good. Paul, same question. The thought process you go through when you're selecting hybrids and varieties for your farm?
That's basically the same, but I planted quite a bit of the 2020. I like the way it came out of the ground, and it seemed like it held up a little better in the wet, you know, than other things. But it seemed, I've watched it through the years because it was out here as an experimental, and I liked the way it looked then. So I didn't plant any 1646 this year. I'm going all Bogart 3 because of worm pressure. We have a lot of worm pressure, so we've try not to plant any Bogart 2.
What about grain sorghum? What are you planting on your farm in terms of grain sorghum hybrids?
I planted 4407 on the lighter ground and 5407 on the heavier ground. The 5407 seemed like it's a lot further behind the 4407 than I thought it would be, but it's coming on pretty good. It's going to work out, and they both look really well. The 4407 looks real good, but because it's further along.
I'll ask you first, Chris. So from the standpoint of overall agronomics and let's say the service that Bayer provides and the people that it has in the field, I mean, how do you perceive the brand and the people that represent it within your area?
Oh, I've got a pretty good relationship. I've known Scott a long time. The rep in our area is Tommy Bertling. Very good rapport with both those guys for a long, long time. I call Tommy regularly on lots of questions. He's a wealth of knowledge. I call Scott when I need to do it too, because with two territories, you get to see things from both sides. And where I farm, we farm one end of the county is one way, the other end is the opposite way on kind of land. What I really like is the research that's done. I can call, if somebody doesn't know something, they'll get me an answer. And in today's world, just like on this cotton, we don't know what to do, and we're all trying to figure it out, and Bayer's trying to, they're just like you, they're experts are trying to help us know what to do, because, and the knowledge and the research is invaluable.
Perfect. I always joke a lot of times. I say, well, these sales reps that I kind of support make my job easy most of the time, because I tell you, they're
good guys.
They're good. They're a good group. So, and Paul, I mean, we'll ask you the same question, but you kind of had it from a different perspective, since there's been so much research and whatnot done here, and you've got to meet, you know, a wealth of people over the years that have worked for the company. And so, just kind of your thoughts. I'm sure it's going to relay what Chris said, but kind of what are your thoughts?
I mean, and the sales guys are great, but you know, the research guys too, and I mean, there's not one in the bunch that I wouldn't want to deal with at any time, you know. And over the years, the ones that aren't around anymore went other, you know, up the ladder or whatever, or just elsewhere, and I've never had one that's been someone I didn't want to deal with. You know, they've been really good, taught me a lot. I kind of get a little edge on things because I see things on the experimental end, and then like the 2020, and then it came out and I was, well, that was that one. So, you know, get a little jump start on it. But it's interesting to see what it takes to get everything done. You know, it's so many man hours and money to get a product going, whether it's seed or chemical. So much research, because sometimes we plant the regulated trials too, and you plant it and raise it and then destroy it because it's not EPA registered or whatever they have to do. So you see all that. It's very interesting, very educational.
Absolutely.
Well, guys, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to join us today and just kind of give the perspective of the producer to our audience. It's been a challenging year. We hope that things will straighten up, you know, from now through harvest. But we do have a long way to go, especially on our cotton crop. We're going to have a little ways to go. So I really do appreciate you all taking the time and sitting down and visiting with us. And we hope that this was informational for you all as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Thank y'all.